Well, joining me in the studio is Robert Halfon, Conservative MP for Harlow, and in London, Bob Blizzard, the former Labour MP for Waveney. Robert Halfon, now that councils are no longer obliged to provide legal sites, nothing's going to get done, is it? We're going to see a whole load more potentially illegal sites cropping up and the problems that go with them.
Well, I don't agree with you. Of course, in the case that you've just highlighted, one has to be compassionate. But at the same time, you can't allow one group of people to flout the law when if a resident in a house builds on greenbelt land, that would not be allowed. But what the problem has been over the past few years is the government has tried to impose, the previous government tried to impose targets on unwilling communities on the number of traveller sites. And in my own area, we had a disproportionate amount. And now that has to change. So you need to give people incentives and get local people along with it.
When councils were not obliged before, nothing happened. So what makes you think that we're going to get them to do an act now?
The difference is now is that we are offering a new homes bonus, so that if traveller sites are built, the council will get some money back from the government. In the past, that was not on offer. You can't impose things in a kind of centralised Stalinist diktat on communities.
Let me pop that to Bob Blizzard. I mean, Labour did nothing for years, dragged its feet. Yes, there were recommendations, but nothing really happened.
Well, I think we were probably focused on trying to sort things out for the vast bulk of sort of hard-working people who aren't travellers. But I can remember years and years ago when I was a councillor being told by my chief executive that we had to have a traveller site permission in our district. And it was a nightmare trying to find a site. We did eventually find one. It was paid for by the government. But then we found that travellers still didn't go on it, and they still set up on school fields, on commons and so on. And my approach when I was an MP was always to get onto the police and try and get them to move people on before they got too settled. And I found that where there was a really tough police commander, they did that. Less tough commanders tried to hide behind all kinds of excuses and so on.
Well, do you think we need carrots and sticks?
Well, what I don't understand basically is if I go around the country in a caravan or a motorhome, I'd expect to have to go on a campsite and pay an overnight rate. I don't see why, if I call myself a traveller, I should then be able to do something different.
OK, Robert Halfon, £60 million, that's the pot of money set aside. But that's for the whole country. It's not going to go very far, is it?
Well, you've got to start somewhere. Obviously, we're in a difficult economic situation. We're paying 120 million a day in debt interest alone. But at least it's a starter, and it gives councils incentives to build some traveller sites. As I said, we have to be compassionate, but we can't have a situation where traveller sites are imposed from the centre and residents are forced to have them against their wishes.
But if we look at history, it just won't happen. It's a nice idea, but it's not going to work.
Yes, but we have never offered financial incentives before, and I think
not very much, is it?
Well, I think that the government have said that under the new homes bonus, all new homes that are built, and that includes traveller sites, local councils will get up to 100% of their council tax receipts. Now, that is a lot of money for local councils, so there will be some incentives, and if you bring people along with you, rather than just try and impose things, people will accept there has to be some traveller sites, but not illegal sites built on greenbelt land.
Just very briefly, would you ever consider making it compulsory for councils to provide sites again?
Absolutely not.
And Bob